The Daily Raz Show with Jack Wilson.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Daily Raz Show. I'm Jack Wilson, and glad you could join us. Instead of doing any political things today, I was doing some work on our home alarm system, and it kind of made me think, because putting the alarm system in our house was really a task, and it was making me think back to why and how we did it. And the question is, I guess I was wondering, how do people know they need an alarm system? Well, I'm going to tell you our story, and it goes back, now I think it's probably 10 years. But I guess mainly if you have a home, and I'm talking about in the United States, I don't know about the rest of the world, but in the United States, if you own a home, you probably really want to consider an alarm system. Of course, today there are all kinds of alarm systems, but I'll tell you the story on ours. This was not long after we purchased our home where we are at, and where we live is in the foothills of Albuquerque, and it's probably, I think we're about 1,000 feet higher than the city. I think we're about 6,000 feet, or maybe a little higher. But so anyway. A block from us, is the mountains, and so like a block from us goes into the paths up into the mountains, and in other words, they can't build any more homes up there. So I wouldn't call the area affluent because it's not a gated community, but it's upscale, and they're nice homes up in this area. And again, I say because they cannot build anymore in the area. That's why if you look in Albuquerque or look in the area, all of the building is being done to the west. Rio Rancho is exploding. A lot of building going down at Los Lunas, and I think in Algodones, but Rio Rancho in that area on the west side primarily are really where the building is going. So anyway, back to our area. We bought our home, 13, 14 years ago. And we lived here, maybe a year or 2 years. I worked, of course. I had an office, and I would go to the office every morning. And my wife would go to her office every morning. So all day, the home was, by itself, other than our two cats, when I'll get to those in a moment. But so we went to work every day. We were generally home on the weekends. Once in a while, we would go out of town. But for the most part, we were home in the evenings and would go to work during the day. So this one particular day, and it was in the summer. I don't remember. Seems like it was April or May or somewhere in there. But we went to work, of course, and I usually came home first. I would leave my office about 4 o'clock. So and it was about a 15-minute drive, and I would usually get home first. So this particular day, and it was a weekday, I came home and I was driving down our street, and I noticed the garage door was open. when I could see our house as I was coming down the street, and I noticed our garage door was open, and I thought, interesting. My wife must be home. And as I got closer, I noticed there were no cars in the garage. And I thought, oh my gosh, she left the garage door, because she left later than I did. I went to the office at like 7 in the morning. She didn't go in, I think, until 9. So my first thought was, oh no, she left the garage door open, and it's been open all day. Didn't really think about anybody getting in or robbing or anything. I mean, it's a nice neighborhood. Who thinks those things? And I walked in, pulled the car in the garage. I walked in the house, and I mean, it was, I went in through the door. It goes in through our laundry room and into the entryway. And I mean, I just had a sense that something was wrong. And as I looked into the living area, it was like a mess. It was like things were thrown everywhere. And I continued walking in, and I looked, and I saw one of our big screen TVs was missing, and I looked over, and the stereos were all gone. And then I saw the back patio door was missing. I mean, it was broken out, and it was just open. In other words, the screen that goes out into the back patio was open, and the glass in the patio door was gone. And I was just completely taken back. Well, then I began looking around for our 2 cats. And my first thought was, oh my goodness, they're outside. They got outside. They've never been outside. And we still have them, and they still haven't been outside, except for once. That's another story, but it was very short. So they don't go outside. They don't even know what it is. Well, I totally freaked out. And I'm thinking, God, they escaped. They're out in the world. And, this particular part of the country, you don't want small animals being outside. We've got coyotes and bears and hawks and just about any kind of a predator you can think of for small animals. So anyway, I walked back through the hallway into our bedroom, and immediately I had pictures of all of this, that it was a disaster. Drawers were pulled out. It was a mess, you can imagine. And I looked at the closets, I looked at all the bedrooms, and I came into our studio and looked. It was a mess. So, the first thing I did, of course, was call my wife and told her, what was going on. Then I called friends of ours, and they came over. I was just completely out of it. I'd never experienced anything like that, a home invasion. And so as I began looking around, then I saw that we had at that time 2 of those recliners. There are 2 recliners, and with the ottomans, and the very comfortable kind. We had them sitting in front of the TV. And I saw a hole in one. And it went through the back, through the middle of the recliner chair, and what I found out later on was that hole was a 9mm bullet, and it was still embedded in the wall on the other side of the family room. That's how they blew the glass out. So moving on, I began looking around for the cats, and they were still in the house, believe it or not. One of them, Rosie, was under a sink and was cowering under a sink. and Rita was cowering underneath a sofa that we had up in the front room. She was cowering underneath and behind a sofa in the front room. So I did find them, and I got them and put them in a room by themselves. And of course, then my wife came home, and then we began doing just an inspection. Our friends came over. I called for a board up glass company. Called my insurance company immediately, but called a glass company and had them come to do a board up because it was actually beginning to get, it was evening. So I wanted the place boarded up and secured. But at that time, then we called the police, and the police came. And, I have my feelings about Albuquerque police, but frankly, I was not very impressed. But one of the things that I found out later on is they did all of their routine. One of the detectives sat down and talked to us and talked to me. But as we were going through, it was everything was gone. They cleaned out jewelry. They took all of our computers, laptops, desktops, all of our flat screen TVs, all of our stereo equipment, and my wife's jewelry. They got all of her jewelry. And how they accomplished this, you would think, well, how long were they in there? Well, they were in here quite a while because the depth of what they took, it was a lot. They went through meticulously and just grabbed anything and everything that had value. So I was kind of surmised what they did was they had to have a truck. This stuff was not going to fit in a car. That they came in and opened our garage door and backed in. And I don't know how they opened it. I mean, it's an electric garage door opener, but I think they could just power that thing up. Well, I think they did. I did have to replace the garage door, so I take that back, yes. They opened the garage door, back in, closed the garage door. Now they're in here, till whatever. That could have taken them a half hour, an hour. But they were in here for a period of time and just loaded up. And of course, then when they left the garage door open. And that's what I saw, was when I left, the garage door being open. They just zoomed out and that was it. Anyway, the police went through everything. They didn't do anything. I mean, what are they going to do? What are they going to do? It's not like on television. They're not going to get fingerprints. They're not going to do that. They just wanted a list of everything that was missing. Well, I did have a list. We had a list with serial numbers and et cetera, and we kept all of that. Long story short, did we ever get a recovery on anything? No, nothing. Computers, flat screens, laptops, stereo equipment, everything gone. And of course, my wife's jewelry. And I can tell you it was a lot. I mean, this was in the thousands. So we went through, and later on I think made a list for the detectives. But this detective sat down and he seemed concerned about it and was trying to talk to us and calm us down. You're not going to calm anybody down. It was a really, really bad event. The fact that they used a gun made it even worse. And what made it worse is that they shot a gun. By the way, on opening the garage door, how did they do it? Well, very simple, because when they shot the When they shot the back door out, they went in the house and then pushed the button to open the garage door. There you go. So the fact that they used a gun was really upsetting. And the fact that the chair that they shot, when they shot the window out, was the same chair that we sat in during the day. And at times, like if we were at work, we've had my mother visit when she was alive at that time. She had been out to visit, and she may stay at home during the day. And what would she be doing? Sitting in that chair, watching television. Fortunately, she was not there that day. So we sat and talked to this detective and, about our concerns with the crime in Albuquerque. And then that's when he said, you really should have an alarm system. And it was like, well, yeah, I kind of agree with that now. And it was something I really didn't think about before. Again, we had only been in the home maybe a year and a half, not very long. And I said, yeah, we really are going to look at that now. And he came up with a company name, and he highly recommended them. I know these people. I highly recommend them. They can do this. They can do that. You really should talk to them. And I thought, okay, that's a good idea. So he gave me the name of the company and that. Well, I'm going to fast forward a little bit. I didn't know until later on with this company, this guy got a kickback from them. He gets kickbacks from recommending, and when they sell an alarm system on his recommendation, he gets a kickback on it. How cool is that? Well, anyway, aside from that fact, I called the company, the alarm company, and in the meantime, we're dealing with the insurance and the whole upsetting part of being broken into. They did replace the window, etc., or the back patio door. And I called the alarm company, and he came out like, boom, Johnny on the spot next day, and went over with what they could do, took a look at the house, what his recommendations were. And you understand, we're really in fear at this point. Excuse me. I mean, we're really fearful of what's going on. So it's his advantage. He's got advantage. He's probably gonna sell an alarm system, and he did. I signed up with him. I didn't go shopping. I wanted to get an alarm in like right now. One of the things that this detective said was, just because you've been broken into doesn't mean they won't do it again. And I was like, okay. I think I'll get an alarm system, but I guess I didn't snap to the fact that they're probably not going to do it the next day, maybe the next year, next 2 years, but they're not going to do it the next day because, hell, they've taken everything, right? So anyway, we did go ahead and put this alarm system in, and it was at that time, 10 years ago, it was not like it is today. Now, they've got all kinds of different alarm systems. 10 years ago, it was a different time. The technology was different. I kind of went with overkill. I put 7 cameras on the house and property. Went around and put cameras, and there was no place on this property you could go without being on a camera. And then, of course, in the house with all of the sensors for window breakage, et cetera, et cetera. We put all of that in. And then, of course, with, being able to use it Wi-Fi and being able to monitor everything on our computers our laptops or on our phones, being able to see every camera on those and monitor them, the front door, the back patio, the sides of the house, back, everything. So we were able to see what was going on with all of these cameras. And at that time, I think it was around $6,000, 6,000, something like that, which was a lot of money then, 10 years ago. But they brought a whole crew out. I mean, they were really fast on it. And I can't say that they did a fantastic job or a bad job. I mean, it was okay because this goes through. These are the installers, the company. And then it goes through a monitoring company. And I have to say, it was okay. It was all okay. The monitoring company, they were, right there in our particular system. They are always listening to what's going on in the house. If there's in other words, if there's an event, they can hear what is going on in the house through our system. And they will always ask, if something sets off in an event, they will ask on our speakers in the house if everything is okay, and we have to give them a code. And of course, if we didn't, then the response would be police coming out. So the system is good. And over the course of time, we've updated it and have changed monitoring companies and et cetera. So the alarm system we have in now is fine. We went through the insurance companies with with all of the losses, and I can tell you, whenever you have a home invasion and you have losses, you're not going to get what you think. Okay, I mean, it could be in like 50 cents on the dollar. I was shocked. I'm not going to tell you the insurance company we had and have. They've always done well by us. But in that whole sphere of home invasion, we did the alarm system. Then I went and we went around the property and we raised our walls on the property 4 or 5 feet. I forget, something like that. Anyway, we raised all the walls, concrete block, around all the property. And then we called a company. And so just to tell you, on our property, when we raised those walls, I mean, for anyone to get over them, it's going to require ladders because we have an arroyo behind us, so there's no homes. All of our yards, our neighbors, who now, they have alarm systems. So then in the front of the property, we went and where they had come in before, they had basically jumped the gate that was just waist high. I brought a company in and put iron gates up like 7 feet high, matching the decor of our home. So now we have walls, we have gates, we have iron fence over on the other side of the property. So we're now surrounded by high walls and iron gates. And the next step was we were in, I believe it was Tucson. I want to say Tucson. And really liked the landscaping in that area. And we saw some properties with window bars. Now, people around here have window bars, but it's kind of a Spanish decoration or whatever, but I don't care for them. But we did see some down there that were really very cool. And so I was talking to my wife. I said, that wouldn't be bad. Those are very different. I mean, they were not straight. They were they were kind of bent, and they were just, I can't even describe it. I haven't seen anywhere else except there. And I said, that would be kind of cool. We could do that on the windows. Well, fast forward again, we came back, and, by now it's been, a few weeks later, and they have raised all the walls on the property. And we've got the fences all contracted, and they put all the fence in. It really looks nice. I mean, we needed to do that anyway. It was really helped the house curb appeal on the front of our property. So, but then the other thing was about the windows. Somebody come crashing through the windows. Well, let me tell you, another thing is on our front door, we did not have what they would call storm door. So we have a handmade, hand-carved door that was made by a Native American, and it's hand-carved. It's very unique and it's beautiful. And we didn't want to put any kind of a storm door or anything on our property. Well, we found out that they make a door that's all a glass panel that you can put on. But it's like, well, what's that accomplishing? Because what they told us, what the police were telling us was, it's, lucky that they didn't, because what they do is they just smash it through the door. I mean, they can go through a wood front door, like, forget it. They just, boom, it's down. So, but they did not do that to ours. They used the back entrance. Like I say, jumped the fence and came in and blew the window out and came in that way. But, so we looked and found these doors that are shatterproof. You can't break them. And it's like a storm door that they put on, and it matches the decor of the home, and it's clear glass, so you can see our beautiful wood front door, but you can't break through this thing. You could shoot through it, but you're not going to break it with any kind of tire iron or anything. I mean, it's unbreakable. So we put that in. Okay, that solves the break through the door problem. But the windows, can they come through the windows? Sure, if somebody wants to come through the windows, but it's going to set the alarm off. First of all, when they break a window, they have all these sensors in the rooms, and when they break a window, it's going to set the alarms off. So after we did the door, the unbreakable door. And what was the next thing that I did? I'd never owned a gun. I did not own a weapon. And what did I do? Well, I went and bought 3. So now, not all at one time, but I did buy a Walther PP, a Walther PPS. I bought a Walther PP and a, I forget the other one, the name of it. I'm not a gun aficionado as it is, but 2 of them are 380s and 1 of them is a 9mm. They're all automatics. The two, the Walther and the other one are, the other one is like a knockoff of a Walther PPK. And they're semi-automatics. But anyway, I went, and I will go and tell you, I went to, my friend took me and kind of, he has a lot of guns. And he took me, and basically I learned how to shoot. And believe it or not, my wife, who is she is such a calm person, hates violence. She actually did. She actually learned to shoot. But I think I was more into it. And I also, for a period of time, carried it with me. Now, at that time, I went and got a concealed carry permit. I even went through that. But for, oh gosh, a year, 2 years, everywhere we went, I had a gun in the car. And sometimes I had it on me in the back and behind my belt. I would carry my Walther PP. And I liked it because it had a safety feature. It had a decocking and safety feature. So you could use it in double action, and it was very safe. And I still have them. But getting back to the windows and the protection on the windows, we did not want to have bars on our windows and look like we were in a prison. So we did settle for putting bars on our bedroom windows. In other words, we tried to find someone that could duplicate the bars on the windows that we saw in Tucson. We couldn't find anyone to do that. So we kind of did a knockoff on it. They look okay. They're not fantastic. They match the core of the house outside. You can't really see them anyway because it's on the side of the house by our bedroom window. And we had those put on our bedroom window. Now, understand, when they put bars on houses, they have to have ways to open them inside. You can't just put bars on windows. They have a place where you can push a button and the bar's open, and you can escape if you need to if you have bars on your windows. So that was fine, and I rationalized that this way a little bit. I positioned and stationed my weapons. I had one in the nightstand, but I did not have it chambered. In other words, that one did not have a decocking safety on it, like a double action safety that the Walthers have. The PPK and the PP have. So I kept one in the nightstand. This was the Walther PPS, I think. But I did not have a round chambered. In other words, I would have to cock it purposely to chamber a round. But I kept it in the nightstand. And then also out of our bedroom, going out into the hallway on the buffet, I kept the Walther PP underneath a little black piece of fur. Or like a little piece of cloth fur. I kept it under there, chambered. I had one in there. Now, it was decocked, which means that if it's cocked, it has about 4 pounds of trigger pull. If it's decocked, it's about 10 pounds. I mean, you can really tell the difference, one that's ready to shoot and one that isn't. So you're not going to pick one up and just pull the trigger. It actually requires some effort. A 10-pound pull or more requires some effort. So I always kept one on the buffet. I think you call it a buffet. Anyway, it's kind of a Western style of cabinet. But I did have one chambered there. And then I kept another one. I forgot where I actually did keep that one. But I kept another one stationed somewhere in the house. I think it was in another part of the rooms. And, my reasoning was if somebody broke in, we're going to get an alarm. They're not coming in the bedroom window. We're going to get an alarm coming in the house. Now I've got time to get my one out to cock it out of the nightstand, and anybody that comes in the bedroom, I can see them right away. Of course, we went through the drill, and the first thing I would do would be reach over, and I know my wife is there. It's not her. And then first of all, we're going to have an alarm, so I felt very safe. Somebody's going to suffer if they come in. And then if for some reason I'm down the hallway, it's just all I have to do is just reach over 12 inches, and I've got my hand on the Walther PP, I don't even need to load it. It's loaded and just pull it out and boom, 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 boom. Well, I can tell you through my shooting experiences that when I would go to the target range, I was not one of those people that would try to do targets, and stand slowly, and because I have a kind of an essential tremor anyway. So I'm not very good at just shooting at targets. However, I am like dead eye when it comes to emptying a magazine. Okay, so if somebody's 20 feet away, and I did this on targets. If someone's 20 feet away, and I just start popping them off, boom, 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 they're all dead center. So I never really worried too much about it. And if anyone ever broke in, it wasn't one of those things where I was going to just shoot once. No, it's not going to happen. I'm going to empty it. So I never really worried about that. I always had them positioned. And after that, after all of these features that we, implemented at our home, I actually felt pretty safe. The problem was going outside. At this particular year and time, crime in Albuquerque was, I don't know, it was going crazy. And up in this area where we live, they were having all kinds of issues with home invasions. Believe it or not, there was a woman that was, this is years ago, of course, was in her home 2 streets down. That she was in her garage doing some daily cleaning work, whatever, and someone stopped and grabbed her, took her, basically it was like a kidnapping, and took her in her house and robbed it while he had her under control. So it was a crazy period. And everybody was watching everybody. And it's like, well, how do they do this? Well, what they do is they case places. And, criminals that's their job. That is their job. Everybody's got a job. Well, so do criminals and thieves. And they have a system and they have a technique. And one of the techniques, and I actually prevented one day, is they drive around. Now, in our area, we can almost tell by the cars when someone is in our area and they don't have the right kind of car. Now, that might sound snobbish, but it's a fact. This one day I was coming home, driving down our street, and, made a turn, as I was telling you when I first discovered our garage door. But anyway, I came down and I saw this old Chevy sitting there on the side of the street with a guy and a gal in it. Well, I drove past them and it didn't move. And I stopped and I backed up. I went past them maybe 20 feet and I stopped. I backed up. I rolled down my window and I leaned over at him and I said, "Can I help you find something?" And he looked at me and the thing went in drive and they were gone. They were gone that quick. They made the turn and they were history. So this is what these people do. They drive around, they case houses, and I assume they still use the same techniques, but they drive around, they case neighborhoods, they case houses, and sometimes they work in groups in tandem. But they'll notice areas and where people are going to work. And I think that's what happened this time. I was going to work, and they're watching for people going to work, and I drove past them and then came back. They didn't move. So they could have been watching me or other people in the neighborhood leave for work and notice an empty house. The next thing they'll look for is advantage, which means, does it have an alarm system? Do they have cameras? Do they have whatever? And they'll make notes of this, and they could watch a house for a week or 2 weeks, who knows? They could be watching, for a month. I don't know how they do it, but but that's what they do when they're casing these neighborhoods, and they sometimes work in groups. Well, I'm sure that's what happened with us. And at that particular time, after hours, then there became a rash of break-ins up in this foothills area. And again, what they're doing is they could be looking at real estate, homes that have just been sold recently, homes that are being for sale, and they watch the property, and then someone just moves in. They haven't had time to become familiar with the neighborhood, acclimated, or maybe even have alarm systems put in yet. They're smart. So, the real estate ads, you think that's just for people buying real estate. No, man, it's for thieves too. And they could be doing Facebook, watching neighborhoods for someone going on vacation. They do all of this. They do their legwork. In our particular case, these types of things don't just run in and grab and leave. They're looking for homes that have valuable property in them. And and they can spend some time in there gathering it up. They're not looking for $500, they're looking for thousands. So these are professionals. And so that's what they did with us. So the thing is, do you need an alarm system? Well, I'm going to tell you, if you own a home, yes, because the after effect of all of that. And by the way, carrying concealed carry weapons, I think I told you when I bought the guns. I had a 9mm with me, or I think probably a 380 at the time. I was carrying an automatic all the time, and I did that for a couple of years. It really affected us, and I would have had no problem, none, shooting someone that was accosting us. But on that note, then I'm going to tell you that if you do get that weapon and go to those classes and get a concealed carry, and they're going to tell you, look, if you shoot somebody, you're going to be liable for it in one way or another, and you could be financially liable. They do sell insurance for people that have weapons, that in the event you need to put a bullet in somebody, they sell insurance for that so that you're protected. Because believe it or not, this fucking crook could sue you. It happens, and I don't know how frequently, but it does happen. So you think about that when you get a weapon, and after I kind of thought about that after carrying one for a while, we just avoided areas, and my position was that, look, if they're in my house, they've got ample warning. They're going to, first of all, find it very difficult to climb the walls, climb the fences to even get to the house. The second thing is, if they break something or that to get in, the alarm system is going to go off. The second thing is if they're coming down my hallway, they're going to get a verbal warning from me. And if they go that far, then I have no problem using deadly force at that point. By then they have to either be totally crazy to have bypassed all of these warnings that they've gotten. But you know what? All of those warnings cost thousands of dollars, and a lot of time, a lot of angst, and probably what we could have done in the very beginning had we been more more aware of it, maybe not so naive that we were moving into a nice area and we don't have to worry about those things anymore. If we just put an alarm system in, a good alarm system in the beginning, we probably could have avoided all that, because the alarms would have gone off at that point and they probably wouldn't have gotten past blowing the window out, and all of the alarms would have gone off, and they wouldn't have had time to spend in the house. So after all of this talking, what it goes back to is, do you need an alarm system? If you own a home, yes. Look, it's not worth it. It's sad to say that in the United States of America today, that you would have to alarm your home. You think you're in a nice neighborhood and you don't need it. Guess what? Criminals don't go to poor neighborhoods. There's nothing there. I'm sorry, I sound like a snobbish bigot, but there's nothing there they want. Maybe that's where they live. I don't know. But they're not going to rob poor neighborhoods. They're going to come to the affluent neighborhoods, the neighborhoods that they think that there's a cache of money or equipment or something they can sell or is negotiable. That's why. So if you own a home, you should have an alarm system. And if nothing else, it's for safety, security, and peace of mind. And I'm not selling an alarm system. I don't care what you get. There's all kinds of things out there. And, they have some of these now that are off the shelf. Look, I would say that you really should talk to someone who has a professional monitoring service. And like anything else, you talk to one or two or three people and, get their advice. Don't think that you're going to be your self-monitoring safety expert. That's what they would like you to think, these people that are selling these off the shelf. Don't do that. You need a monitoring service. You need someone that's reputable, that can take care of your property when you're there or when you're not there. By the way, a lot of things I'm talking about is coming right off the top of my head. I don't have any notes on any of this. When we go to bed at night, we arm our system. It's armed, and it's armed for no delays. So that means that typically when you arm a system, you can arm it depending on how you set the alarm, where you have no delay entry, like if something happens, it goes off right away. Or you can set it where you have a delayed entry, like if you want to enter through the garage or whatever. We use our no entry delay. That means if something happens, boom, the alarm goes off. So we also do that at night when we are home, that we arm it with no entry delay and that we are in the home. Now, the alarm company knows from that we are in the home. So if something goes off, they're right away acute to the fact that we're in the house and they're asking, are we okay? They can hear us. They can hear us what's going on. So again, getting back to it, do you need an alarm system? I say yes. It is almost a sad requirement today in the United States. It's just a fact. And I don't know about other countries. I don't even know what the alarm systems are like in some other countries. But there are so many choices in this country. I won't mention any names. I'm not selling any. But I'm telling you that there's many, many choices. And there are many types of alarms. But we use multiple types, but we have cameras. And, the cameras, you can set them up where that if there's when you mask them, you mask those cameras to a specific area of the, whatever area you may want to look at in the picture. And you can mask it, and if somebody enters in that area, it will send a warning. It doesn't set the alarm off, but it will send a warning to either to you or the alarm company, but I like to get them. And you can adjust the sensitivity and what have you, but I generally want to see if somebody's around our bedroom window, which doesn't happen. Our front door, we can monitor the front door and our back patio. Anybody's on our back patio, well, they shouldn't be. So there's a couple of places I want to know about, and the front door, of course, we can monitor if somebody is coming to our door. So I think that's enough said on alarm systems. I'll say it again. If you have a home, you own a home, I would say get one and be safe. So with that, I didn't want to do a political thing today. I'm going to do that again. But I think, you know what, the next one I'm going to do is my first business. I was thinking about this also the other day. Sometimes I get tired of doing political stuff, especially with what's going on. So I think my next one I'm going to do is my first business. And my first business, I was 11 years old, and it wasn't selling lemonade. You'll be surprised at what I did. I didn't do it alone. I did have help, but you'll be surprised at what I did. And I was just, the other day I was just thinking about that, and I said, I got to do something on that, because that was very interesting to even think about. Well, anyway, I hope this was some information that everyone can use. And if it is, let me know. Send me an email to Jack Wilson at dailyraz.com. You can follow my shows, the programs on the Daily Raz Show at Daily Raz Show on YouTube, or you can go and follow my writings at dailyraz.com, or I put all of the podcasts, the audio and video podcasts on dailyraz.com, and then of course Apple and all of these others have the audio podcast. But anyway, it's been fun. Thanks for watching and listening, and we'll see you on the next show.